The emergency beacon cut through the void like a desperate scream, its quantum signature bleeding distress across 17 star systems. Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Coalition clutched the transmission pod with trembling appendages, her crystalline carapace reflecting the amber glow of her ship's dying power core. "Please," she whispered into the recorder, her voice cracking with exhaustion. "To any who receive this message, we are the Zephyrian Coalition, representing 43 peaceful worlds in the Andromeda Spiral. We are dying." The view screen behind her showed the horror that had befallen her people. Massive black ships, angular and wrong, moved through space like predatory insects. They were the Vex High Dominion, and they had come to harvest every living soul in Zephyrian space. The Vex High came without warning 6 months ago. Our peaceful vessels were no match for their war machines. Our colonies fall one by one. We have tried to negotiate, but they do not communicate. They only consume. Kethvar paused, struggling with the next words. "We know of only one species that might help us, a young race called humans, from a world called Earth." She had heard whispers about these humans in the galactic fringe territories, stories that seemed impossible. A species that had emerged from a death world, they called it. A planet so hostile that its inhabitants had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Natural warriors, some said. Others called them monsters wrapped in the guise of civilization. "We know humans have never left their local cluster," Kethvar continued, "but our long-range sensors show they possess technology. Ships. We don't know if they will help or if they even can, but we are desperate. Our coordinates are embedded in this transmission. If any human receives this, please. We are begging you." The transmission fired into the quantum foam, racing faster than light toward the Sol system, toward Earth. 3 days later, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the war room of Terra Station, humanity's massive orbital defense platform. The alien message played for the 5th time as the Joint Chiefs absorbed every detail. Chen's weathered face showed no emotion, but her dark eyes held the fire that had earned her command of Earth's combined fleet. "Analysis, Colonel Martinez," she said without looking away from the holographic display showing the Zephyrian Coalition's territory. Colonel Martinez, head of Xenological Intelligence, cleared his throat. "The Zephyrians are a peaceful, highly advanced civilization. Level 7 technology by our standards. They've never engaged in warfare, which explains their vulnerability. The Vex High appear to be a nomadic harvester species. Think locusts, but in space. Numbers? The Zephyrians estimate 800 Vex High vessels of various sizes. Our analysis suggests their largest ships are roughly equivalent to our heavy cruisers in terms of firepower, but they have significantly more of them." General Harrison, head of Terra Defense Command, leaned forward. "Admiral, with respect, this isn't our fight. We've maintained radio silence with the galaxy for good reason. The moment we reveal ourselves, Chen interrupted. "We face the same choice our ancestors did when fascism swept across Earth. Do we stand by and watch innocents die? Or do we act?" The room fell silent. Everyone present remembered the history lessons. Humanity had learned its lessons about standing idle while evil consumed the innocent. President Martinez appeared on the main screen from his office in New Geneva. "Admiral Chen, you have full authorization to respond as you see fit. The Security Council voted unanimously. We cannot stand by while an entire civilization is exterminated." Chen nodded. "Understood, Mr. President. Colonel Martinez, I want everything we have on both species. General Harrison, I need you to coordinate with Admiral Park's Deep Space Fleet and Admiral Okafor's Rapid Response Division. We're taking the full combined fleet." "Ma'am," General Harrison said slowly, "that's over 2,000 vessels. Are we sure we want to reveal that much of our capability to the galaxy?" Chen's smile was cold as winter. General, when humanity makes its debut on the galactic stage, I want to make sure the introduction is memorable. 2 hours later, the largest military fleet in human history began assembling beyond Neptune's orbit. The flagship, UES Terra's Hammer, was a kilometer-long dreadnought bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Around it gathered battleships, carriers, destroyers, and support vessels, all bearing the blue and silver of the United Earth Space Command. In the depths of space, humanity's children prepared for war. Captain Maria Santos stood on the bridge of her destroyer, UES Barcelona, and watched the fleet assemble with professional appreciation. Each ship represented the culmination of centuries of human engineering, forged in the fires of constant conflict and shaped by the harsh demands of survival on a death world. "Captain," her XO Lieutenant Commander Jensen called out, "Admiral Chen is requesting all ship captains report readiness status." Santos keyed her comm. "Admiral, UES Barcelona reporting ready for immediate deployment. All weapons systems green. Crew at battle stations." "Acknowledged, Barcelona. Captain Santos, I want you to know that what we're about to do will change everything. The galaxy is about to meet humanity for the first time. Are your people ready for that responsibility?" Santos looked around her bridge at the focused faces of her crew. These were the children of survivors, raised in the shadow of Earth's violent history and molded by the unforgiving crucible of space. They were ready. "Admiral, my crew and I have trained our entire lives for this moment, even if we didn't know it. Humanity is ready to take its place among the stars." "Good hunting, Barcelona. Chen out." The final preparations took another 6 hours. Supply ships topped off fuel and ammunition, while transport vessels loaded with Marines and their equipment formed up in defensive formation around the main battle fleet. The medical ships, flying the Red Cross of the Terran Medical Corps, prepared their trauma bays for casualties. Admiral Chen reviewed the final deployment orders on her private screen. 2,437 vessels, nearly 500,000 personnel, the largest military force humanity had ever assembled. And they were taking it all to save people they had never met, in a war that wasn't theirs to fight. "Admiral," her communications officer called out, "all ships report ready. The fleet is assembled and awaiting your orders." Chen stood and moved to the center of her bridge, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. In the next few minutes, humanity would step onto the galactic stage. There would be no going back. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Today we leave the safety of our home system for the first time in our history, not as explorers or diplomats, but as liberators. The Zephyrian people have asked for our help, and humanity has never turned its back on those in need. Remember that we represent more than just Earth today. We carry with us the hopes of every human who ever looked up at the stars and dreamed of something greater. We carry the memory of every ancestor who fought against tyranny and oppression. We carry the future of our species. The galaxy doesn't know us yet, but they're about to learn. They're about to discover what happens when you threaten innocence in the presence of humans. They're about to learn why our homeworld is called a death world, and why that made us exactly what the universe needs. All ships, engage quantum drives. Destination, Zephyrian Coalition space. Time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The space around Neptune erupted in brilliant flashes of light as 2,000 ships disappeared into quantum space, racing toward a destiny that would reshape the galaxy forever. In the depths of the quantum tunnel, sensors that had monitored the Sol system for decades finally transmitted their findings to their masters. The message was simple and terrifying. The humans were coming, and they were coming in force. Admiral Chen stood in her ready room, studying star charts and intelligence reports as her fleet raced through quantum space towards Zephyrian territory. The journey would take 48 hours, enough time to finalize their strategy and prepare for whatever waited for them. Her door chimed. Enter. Captain Rodriguez, her chief of staff, stepped inside with a data pad. Admiral, we've received an update from our long-range scouts. The situation in Zephyrian space is worse than we thought. Chen took the pad and frowned as she read. They've lost 12 more colonies since the distress call was sent? Yes, ma'am. At this rate, the entire coalition will be extinct within 2 weeks. But there's more. Our scouts detected massive Vex-High fleet movements toward the coalition capital system. Intelligence estimates they're planning a final assault within the next 72 hours. Chen set down the pad and moved to the viewport. Stars streaked past as her ship cut through quantum space at incredible velocity. Somewhere ahead of them, millions of innocent beings were dying while an ancient evil consumed their civilization. Captain, signal all ship commanders. We're accelerating our timetable. I want every vessel running at maximum quantum velocity. We're not going to arrive just in time to count bodies. Admiral, pushing the drives that hard will exhaust our fuel reserves. We'll be committed to the fight with no option for retreat. Chen turned back to Rodriguez with a grim smile. Captain, when in human history has retreat ever been our first option? Signal the fleet. Maximum burn. It's time to remind the galaxy that humans don't back down from a fight. As the order went out across the fleet, 2,000 ships pushed their quantum drives beyond safe parameters, racing toward a war that would announce humanity's arrival on the galactic stage with thunder and fury. The Vex-High had no idea what was coming for them, but they were about to learn that some species don't just fight to survive, they fight to win, no matter the cost. The quantum alarms aboard the Zephyrian command vessel, Harmony's Light, screamed warnings that none of the bridge crew understood. Science Officer Velthar's membranous hands danced across his console as impossible readings flooded his instruments. "Commander Zethara," he called out, his voice tight with confusion. "I'm detecting massive quantum disturbances approaching our position. Multiple signatures by the ancestors. There are thousands of them." Commander Zethara, her once pristine white ceremonial robes now stained with the grime of weeks in constant retreat, moved to the science station. The Zephyrian fleet, what remained of it, floated in defensive formation around their home system of Keftar, 43 ships, all that was left of a once mighty civilization that had spanned the stars for millennia. Could it be more Vex-High vessels? She asked, though her heart knew the answer. The Vex-High had never used quantum drives. They moved through space like predators, stalking prey, slow and inevitable. "No, Commander, these signatures are different. More advanced than anything in our databases. And the energy output—" Velthar paused, his tentacles trembling. "Commander, if these readings are accurate, each of these vessels possesses more firepower than our entire remaining fleet." Zethara felt her blood turn cold. First, the Vex-High had come to harvest her people, and now some other unknown force was approaching. Perhaps they had come to claim whatever scraps the Vex-High left behind. "All ships, maintain defensive positions," she ordered. "If these newcomers are hostile, we'll make our final stand here, protecting our homeworld." "Contact in 30 seconds, Velthar announced. "They're dropping out of quantum space, now." Space erupted. Where moments before there had been empty void, now hung a fleet so vast it defied comprehension. Ships of every size and configuration stretched across space like a metallic constellation. At their head, a massive dreadnought bearing strange markings and bristling with weapons that hurt to look at directly. "By the sacred crystals," Velthar whispered. "Commander, I count over 2,000 vessels. Their technology, it's unlike anything I've ever seen." Before Zethara could respond, her communications officer's workstation came alive with incoming transmissions. "Commander, we're receiving a message on all frequencies. It's in our language." On screen. The view screen shimmered and resolved into the image of an alien being unlike any in the galactic databases. "Bipedal, with pale skin stretched over a frame that seemed designed for violence. Dark hair, darker eyes, and an expression that spoke of barely controlled aggression. But what struck Zethara most was the intelligence behind those eyes. This was not a mindless predator like the Vex-High. This was something far more dangerous, a thinking killer. Zephyrian vessels, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command. We received your distress call. We're here to help. Zethara felt her legs give way as relief flooded through her. You're humans? You came? We came, Commander, and we brought friends. How many civilians are we protecting here? Admiral Chen, this is Commander Zethara of the Coalition Fleet. We have 8 billion souls on Keftar and the surrounding orbital habitats. But Admiral, the Vex-High main fleet is approaching. Over 800 vessels. You should leave while you still can. Save yourselves. The human's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those dark eyes. Something cold and terrible. Commander Zethara, humans don't abandon friends in need. How long until the Vex-High arrive? 6 hours, Admiral. But you don't understand. Commander, Admiral Chen interrupted, her voice carrying an edge that made Zethara's carapace shiver. You've never seen humans fight, have you? Before Zethara could answer, alarms began blaring across every ship in the human fleet. On her screen, she watched the Admiral turn to someone off camera. Contact bearing 37 Mark 8. Multiple Vex-High scout ships dropping out of fold space. Admiral Chen turned back to the screen, and now her smile was visible. It was not a reassuring expression. Commander Zethara, you're about to get a demonstration. All Zephyrian vessels pull back to minimum safe distance. Try not to blink, you might miss the show. The transmission ended, leaving Zethara staring at empty space where the human Admiral's image had been. Around her, the bridge crew worked with desperate efficiency to move their ships away from the approaching battle. 300,000 kilometers away, a dozen Vex-High scouts materialized from fold space. The insectoid vessels immediately began broadcasting their harvest signals, psychic screams that paralyzed prey species with terror. It was how they had conquered 43 worlds without significant resistance. The humans didn't even slow down. Target acquired, Captain Santos announced from the bridge of UES Barcelona. Vex-High scouts, bearing 037, count 12 vessels. Weapons free, came Admiral Chen's voice over the fleet channel. Let's introduce ourselves properly. What happened next redefined warfare for every species watching. The human ships didn't engage at long range like civilized peoples. They didn't attempt to communicate or negotiate like rational beings. Instead, they did something that no sane species would attempt. They accelerated directly toward the enemy at maximum burn, weapons blazing. UES Barcelona led the charge, her twin particle beam cannons carving luminous paths through space. The Vex-High scouts, programmed to expect terror and paralysis from their prey, found themselves facing something their creators had never imagined, a species that grew more dangerous when threatened. Direct hit on lead scout, Barcelona's weapons officer reported with professional calm. Enemy vessel breaking apart. Multiple kills confirmed across the line. Admiral Chen's voice came through clear and steady. Well done, Barcelona. Form up on the flagship. Time to send the Vex-High a message they'll understand. Of the 12 Vex-High scouts, 11 were destroyed in the first 30 seconds of combat. The 12th, badly damaged but still functional, managed to send a desperate transmission back to the main fleet before Barcelona's second volley turned it into expanding plasma. Aboard Harmony's light, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the humans regrouped with mechanical precision. No celebration, no war cries, just professional efficiency in the face of violence that would have left most species traumatized. Commander, Velthar said quietly, I think I understand now why their homeworld is classified as a death world. Zethara could only nod. She had seen the records from other species about Deathworld species. Planets so hostile that they produced organisms adapted for constant warfare. But she had always assumed such beings would be primitive, savage. These humans combined that inherent violence with technology that surpassed even Zephyrian science. Her communications officer looked up from his station. "Commander, we're receiving another transmission from the human admiral." On screen, Admiral Chen appeared again, but now Zethara could see the bridge of the human flagship behind her. Beings moved with purpose and precision, their faces showing the calm focus of natural predators preparing for battle. "Commander Zethara, we've sent the Vex High main fleet a little preview of what awaits them. I expect they'll arrive ahead of schedule now. My question is this: do any of your people want to evacuate before the main event?" Admiral Chen, our people have lived in these systems for thousands of years. We won't abandon our homes. The human nodded approvingly. Good. I was hoping you'd say that. Commander, I need you to understand something about humans. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. Predators, diseases, natural disasters, climate shifts. Our planet threw everything at us, and we survived by becoming the most dangerous thing on it. Chen leaned forward, her eyes locked on Zethara's. When we fight, we don't fight to drive off enemies or teach lessons. We fight to win, completely and permanently. What you're about to see isn't a battle. It's an extermination. I wanted to warn you because some species find our methods unsettling. Before Zethara could respond, every sensor on every ship suddenly screamed alerts. Space itself seemed to convulse as 800 Vex-High vessels dropped out of fold space in perfect formation. The Harvester fleet filled the void like a swarm of metallic insects, their weapons charging with malevolent energy. 817 enemy vessels confirmed, Admiral Chen announced to her fleet. All ships, execute battle plan Xerxes. Remember, people, they came here to harvest innocence. Show them what happens when predators meet apex predators. The human fleet transformed. Where moments before there had been orderly ranks of ships, now there was something that defied every principle of civilized warfare. The vessels scattered into seemingly random patterns, moving at velocities that should have been impossible, their courses weaving through space in spirals and arcs that hurt to track. "What are they doing?" Velthar asked, his voice barely a whisper. Zethara watched as the human ships began their approach. She had seen thousands of battles in the databases, studied every known form of space warfare. This wasn't warfare. This was art painted in violence and physics. They're not fighting like a military fleet, she realized. They're fighting like a pack. The Vex-High, programmed for overwhelming force against stationary targets, found themselves facing an enemy that refused to behave rationally. Human ships danced between their formations, appearing at impossible angles, disappearing into quantum jumps that lasted microseconds before emerging behind enemy vessels. UES Barcelona materialized inside a Vex-High formation and fired point-blank into 3 enemy vessels before vanishing again into quantum space. The destroyer UES Mumbai appeared above a Vex-High battleship and dropped a full spread of quantum torpedoes directly onto its hull before accelerating away at 12 gravities, a force that would have liquefied any other species. "Impossible," the Vex-High fleet commander transmitted on all frequencies. "Nothing can withstand such acceleration. What are you?" Admiral Chen's response broadcast across every ship in the system. "We're humans, and you just made a very big mistake." The battle that followed lasted 3 hours and 17 minutes. When it ended, 817 Vex-High vessels had been reduced to expanding clouds of debris. The human fleet suffered exactly 0 losses. As the last enemy ship died in brilliant nuclear fire, Admiral Chen opened a channel to the Zephyrian fleet. "Commander Zethara, The immediate threat has been neutralized. However, our intelligence suggests the Vexhi have a main hive fleet somewhere in this galactic region. We intend to find it and ensure this never happens to anyone again. Are your people interested in joining the hunt? Zethara stared at the human admiral's image, trying to process what she had just witnessed. A species that had appeared from nowhere, obliterated an enemy that had conquered her entire civilization, and was now asking if she wanted to help them hunt down the rest. Admiral Chen, she said slowly. I think the galaxy just became a very different place. The human's smile was sharp as a blade. Commander, the galaxy has no idea what's coming next. 3 days after the Battle of Keftar, the combined human-Zephyrian fleet hung in space above the smoking remains of what had once been the Vexhi Dominion's primary hive world. The planet's surface glowed with the aftermath of orbital bombardment, its twisted spires and biomechanical cities reduced to molten slag. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of Terra's Hammer, watching the final cleanup operations through the main view screen. Around her, the largest military fleet in galactic history maintained perfect formation while marine landing parties swept the planet for survivors. They hadn't found any. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez approached with a data pad. Final casualty report from the planetary assault. Chen took the pad without looking away from the dying world below. How many did we lose? 43 personnel across the entire operation, mostly from equipment malfunctions during the orbital drops, 0 combat deaths. Chen nodded grimly. In the 3 days since leaving Zephyrian space, the combined fleet had systematically hunted down and destroyed 17 Vexhi facilities across 6 star systems. Each engagement had ended the same way: total victory for the human forces, total annihilation for the Vexhi. And the prisoners? None, ma'am. The Vexhi don't surrender. They fight until their ships are destroyed, then activate self-destruct sequences. Our xenobiologists believe it's hardwired into their genetics. They're literally incapable of retreat or surrender. Then we've done what we came to do. Chen turned to her communications officer. Signal all ships. Prepare for departure. It's time to go home. Admiral, a new voice interrupted. Commander Zethara's image appeared on the secondary screen, transmitted from her flagship Harmony's light. Over the past 3 days, the Zephyrian had watched humanity wage war with an efficiency that bordered on terrifying. Before you leave, there's something you need to know. Chen turned to face the screen. What is it, Commander? The galactic communication networks have been active since news of your fleet spread. Every major civilization in known space is talking about humanity. About what you did here? And what are they saying? Zethara's tentacles rippled with what Chen had learned was the Zephyrian equivalent of nervous laughter. They're terrified, Admiral. Absolutely terrified. No one has ever seen a military force like yours. No one has ever seen tactics like yours. Most importantly, no one has ever seen a species willing to travel across the galaxy to fight someone else's war without asking for anything in return. Chen considered this. She had expected fear. Humans had just announced their presence to the galaxy by obliterating one of its most dangerous predator species. But the comment about fighting without asking for anything in return surprised her. What do you mean, Commander? Admiral, in galactic politics, no one does anything without expecting payment or territorial concessions or trade agreements. But you came because we asked for help. You destroyed the Vexhi because it was right. No other species understands that kind of thinking. Before Chen could respond, her communications officer called out urgently. Admiral, we're receiving priority transmissions from Earth. Multiple incoming messages from various galactic governments. Chen moved to her command chair. Put them through, Lieutenant. The first message was from the Altair Confederacy, a loose alliance of trading worlds that controlled much of the galaxy's commerce. The Confederate ambassador, A tall, slender being with too many arms and golden skin appeared on screen. Admiral Chen of the United Earth Space Command, I am Ambassador Krellwin of the Altair Confederacy. We have observed your recent activities in Zephyrian space. The Confederacy wishes to open immediate diplomatic relations with humanity and discuss mutual defense agreements. The second message came from the Rigel Commonwealth, a military alliance that had dominated galactic politics for centuries. Their representative was a powerfully built humanoid with scarred hide and wearing full ceremonial armor. Human Admiral, I am War Marshal Bronthak of the Commonwealth Fleet. Your tactics and weapons technology are impressive. We propose an immediate military alliance and technology sharing agreement. Name your terms. The third message made Chen raise an eyebrow. It was from the Galactic Peacekeeping Council, the closest thing the galaxy had to a unified government. Admiral Chen, this is High Counselor Velmarch. The Council formally recognizes Earth's sovereignty and invites humanity to join the galactic community as a Tier 1 civilization. This is unprecedented for a species that has not yet been evaluated by our xenological teams, but recent events suggest evaluation is unnecessary. Message after message followed. Trade offers, military alliances, technology exchanges, territorial grants. Every major power in the galaxy was suddenly desperate to be humanity's friend. Chen looked at the stack of diplomatic communications piling up on her screens and made a decision that would reshape galactic politics for millennia to come. Commander Rodriguez, record a message for transmission to Earth Command. Copy to all galactic powers who have contacted us. Recording, Admiral. Chen stood, her uniform bearing the stains of 3 days of constant combat operations, and faced the camera. Behind her, the tactical display showed the final destruction of the last Vexahai facility. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Command, speaking on behalf of humanity to the galactic community. We came to this region of space because innocent people were dying and asked for our help. We did what humans have always done when faced with evil. We fought it, and we won. She paused, choosing her words carefully. We appreciate the diplomatic overtures we've received, but humanity isn't interested in joining galactic politics as supplicants or junior partners. We've seen what passes for civilization out here. Species that watch genocide happen because it's not profitable to intervene, governments that debate while innocents die, military forces that prioritize preservation over victory. Chen's voice hardened. Let me be clear about humanity's position going forward. We will establish embassies and trade relations with any peaceful species that wishes them. We will honor treaties and respect territorial boundaries. But we will also do whatever we deem necessary to protect innocent life, wherever we find it threatened. The Admiral moved closer to the camera. The galaxy has lived for millennia under the assumption that might makes right, that the strong naturally prey upon the weak. You've built your entire civilization around the idea that some species are born to rule and others to serve. We reject that assumption completely. Behind her, the last Vexahai facility exploded in brilliant nuclear fire. From this day forward, any species that attempts genocide, slavery, or the mass slaughter of innocents will find themselves facing the full might of the United Earth Space Command. We don't negotiate with monsters. We don't compromise with evil. We destroy it, completely and permanently. Chen stepped back from the camera. Consider this humanity's introduction to galactic civilization. We're here now, and things are going to change. The recording ended, and Chen turned to her communications officer. Transmit to all interested parties, including Earth Command. Time to let the galaxy know where we stand. As the message raced across quantum space toward hundreds of different worlds, Admiral Chen looked out at her fleet and made another decision. Commander Rodriguez, signal the fleet. We're not heading directly home. I want a patrol schedule established throughout this entire sector. 3 permanent flotillas, rotating shifts. If there are more Vexahai out there or anything like them, I want to know about it immediately. Admiral, that will require a substantial commitment of forces. We'll need to establish supply lines, communication arrays. Then we'll establish them. Commander, humanity just announced to the galaxy that we're the new predator at the top of the food chain. Now we have to prove we're responsible enough to hold that position. The next several hours were spent in intensive planning as the human fleet prepared to establish humanity's first permanent presence outside the Sol system. Supply vessels were dispatched back to Earth to establish a logistics pipeline. Communication ships began deploying quantum relay networks. Marine units prepared to establish forward bases on strategic worlds. As the activity swirled around her, Chen found herself joined by Commander Deathworlder, who had requested permission to come aboard Terra's Hammer for a private meeting. The Zephyrian commander stood in Chen's ready room, her crystalline carapace reflecting the soft light from Earth's star charts that decorated the walls. Admiral, I wanted to thank you personally before the political situation becomes too complex for simple gratitude. Chen gestured for her to sit in one of the specially designed chairs the ship's fabricators had created for their alien guests. Commander, humanity doesn't do what we did for gratitude. We did it because it was right. That's exactly why I needed to speak with you. Deathworlder settled into the chair with evident relief. Admiral, you have no idea what you've just unleashed. The galaxy has been stagnant for thousands of years. The same species controlling the same territories, fighting the same petty wars over trade routes and mineral rights. Real change, real progress. It stopped happening because everyone was too afraid to upset the balance. Chen poured herself a cup of coffee and offered Deathworlder a beverage suitable for her species' physiology. And now you've proven that everything they thought they knew about power and politics is wrong. You came from nowhere with weapons they can't match, tactics they can't counter, and a moral code they can't understand. Every government in the galaxy is either planning to be your ally or plotting your destruction. Chen sipped her coffee thoughtfully. How many are plotting destruction? Fewer than you might think. The Vexhi were considered nearly unstoppable by most species. What you did to them, it sent a very clear message about the futility of opposing humanity militarily. And the others? Deathworlder's tentacles rippled with amusement. The others are falling over themselves trying to figure out how to become indispensable to you. Some, like the Altair Confederacy, are offering trade agreements that would make them your exclusive commercial partners. Others, like the Rigel Commonwealth, want military alliances that would essentially make them your proxies. Chen set down her cup. None of which interests us. I know. That's what makes this so fascinating. For the first time in galactic history, the most powerful military force belongs to a species that doesn't want to conquer anyone. Deathworlder leaned forward. Admiral, do you understand what that means? Enlighten me. It means you have the opportunity to reshape the entire galaxy, not through conquest or coercion, but through example, if humanity establishes itself as the protector of innocent life. Other species will have to either follow that example or risk being seen as the monsters they've always been. Chen stood and moved to the viewport, looking out at the fleet that represented humanity's first step into a larger universe. Commander, are you suggesting we should become Galactic Police? I'm suggesting you already have become Galactic Police. The question is whether you'll do it officially or just let it happen by accident. Before Chen could respond, her communications officer's voice came through the intercom. Admiral, priority message from Earth Command. The President wants to speak with you immediately. Chen sighed. Patch him through, Lieutenant. President Martinez appeared on the wall screen, his face showing the strain of dealing with the diplomatic avalanche that had hit Earth in the past few hours. Admiral Chen, I need a full briefing on the situation out there. We've got 17 different alien governments requesting immediate meetings, and 3 more offering us entire star systems as gifts. What the hell did you do? Chen smiled tiredly. Mr. President, We did exactly what you authorized us to do. We helped some people who needed help. The galaxy just isn't used to that kind of thinking. Well, they better get used to it fast. Admiral, I'm authorizing the establishment of permanent fleet bases in 3 strategic locations outside Sol space. I'm also authorizing you to negotiate preliminary agreements with any government that approaches us in good faith. Understood, Mr. President. What about the others? What others? The species that might not approach us in good faith. Martinez's expression hardened. Admiral, you've just made humanity the most powerful force in known space. Any species stupid enough to test that is welcome to learn the same lesson the Vexhai learned. After the transmission ended, Chen turned back to Commander Zethara. It looks like you were right, Commander. We have become Galactic Police. Admiral, may I make one final observation? Of course. Zethara stood and moved to the viewport beside Chen. In all my studies of galactic history, I've never encountered a species that gained power by giving it away. You came here to save my people. And in doing so, you've saved the entire galaxy from continuing down a path toward stagnation and slow decay. Chen watched as her ships continued their patrol patterns, human crews carrying out the duties that would define their species' role in the galaxy for generations to come. Commander, I hope you're right. Because ready or not, the galaxy is about to learn what it means when humans decide to take responsibility for something. 2 months later, the first Terran embassy opened on the Zephyrian homeworld. 6 months after that, humanity established its first colonial settlement beyond Sol space. Within a year, the phrase "call the humans" had become the galactic equivalent of "send in the cavalry." The galaxy had begged for aid and awakened Earth's Deathworlder battle Armada. In doing so, they had fundamentally changed the nature of galactic civilization forever. And humanity, as always, was just getting started.